Hey everyone, I'm Clayfect, and I feel like making a happy Tutsie today. If you want to follow along on this tutorial series that I made, then I would highly recommend you watch the base video first, before you come back here. There's a link down in the description below. So, oh, come on little guy, there we are. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is giving our little happy optimist some cheeks, and we're doing that by cutting a ball of clay before we start smoothing them in. Now we want these cheeks to be sort of high up, because I had this idea that I want Opti to be sort of a sack of dirt with plants springing out from the top, but I want him to be a smiling sack of dirt. And now with the cheeks in place, we're building up the face some more before we get started on the mouth. Now for the mouth, I draw it out with my dentist tool before we are slowly building it up. Now the mouth is sort of low right now, and I'm going to change that, but it's a good starting point. With the mouth drawn, we are taking some flattened snakes of clay that we are going to push into the clay, building up the lips. Since we want the lips to be sort of higher than I initially drawed onto the clay, you can see me taking a spoon tool and sort of lifting the lip up, making the mouth a bit higher that way. That'll also help parting the lips a bit and making this white grin that I'm going for. When the lips are shaped in, all I have to do is take my curved rubber shaper tool and again shape them and define them as much as possible. When that is done, I am putting some extra cheeks on the cheeks, you can say, simply again to define the face a bit more. Now with the lower half of the face in place, so to speak, it is time for the eyelids. I take a snake of clay and trace it all around the bottom and the top of the eye. Now with the eyes, there isn't really much to do because the mouth is pretty much telling everybody that this is a happy little Tutsie. But I am tilting the bottom up a bit simply because I want it to be squinting because it's smiling. With our eyelids blended, it is time to make some branches for the little Tutsie. And we're doing that by cutting up a snake of clay before we place some wire in it. With that done, all we have to do is shape the branch to our liking and then continue on making branches. When we have the number of branches that we want, all we have to do is clamp them together like so before they're going in for a bake. Now the reason we pre-bake the branches is simply because it's much easier to add leaves when it's pre-baked and to install the branches afterwards. They are going in the oven for 15 minutes on 275 Fahrenheit, that is 130 Celsius. And while they are baking, we are adding some eyebrows, making them pretty high up and curved, really to emphasize the pure happiness of little Opti the Optimist. Now I really can't tell you why I thought of a sack of dirt when I thought of making a happy Tutsie, but that's what we are going to make. But to make it a plant sack of dirt, we're going to make some leaves, and we're simply shaping it out with our fingers before we're giving it some texture using our round rubber shaper tool and our dentist tool, like you see me doing here. And with the leaves ready and the branches out of the oven, all we have to do is put on some baking bond where we want to place the leaves and simply smooth them in, like so. Now if you have costly, I will highly recommend you using that instead of Super Sculpt for the leaves, simply to make sure they are more flexible. But we keep it simple with this Tutsie. So while they are baking, I am starting to draw out where I want some folds to make this sack of dirt not just any sack of dirt, but a chubby sack of dirt. First I draw in to get a picture of where I want the folds, and then I take a sheet of clay and place it before smoothing it in, like so. Now, if you're making anything organic or want the folds to be more pronounced, then I will recommend you using some snakes of clay instead of sheets of clay when you're making the folds, simply to make them more defined. But little Opti is a sack of dirt and wouldn't have that rounded folds. So after we have blended it in, we are taking the curved rubber shaper tool and simply defining them some more. And just like that, we have fat folds. With our head branches done, all we have to do is place it on said head and then take a sheet of clay that is very thin and fold it all around to make the sack opening, so to speak. This can be a very finicky process, but just fold it like you see me doing, so it looks natural, and keep going like that. When you place it like you want to, all you need to do is trim the excess off before you move on to smoothing and blending the top in to the rest of the little Tutootie. I'm using my trusting rubber shaper tool for that. Now, speaking of tools, I do have an affiliate link down below where you can buy the tools and what is needed to make this little Tutootie. And I do get a small percentage from that, but it is simply to buy more clay. So if you want to support my clay obsession, then please do. Now back to little Opti, where I roll a very thin snake of clay that I thereafter roll again to make some rope for the head that I gently place all around the top. When the rope is in place, all we have to do is fold the sheet of clay back so it looks natural, like a natural opening. And that is pretty much it for the top. Now for his nose, I'm placing a bit of baking bond before we're making a very easy nose. I want to emphasize that it is a sack of dirt. So of course his nose is going to be a little lump of soil, so to speak. And I'm doing that by taking a clay ball, pressing it into the face before I start smashing a rock around on the clay ball to give a little dirt lump some texture. And just to emphasize even more, I decided to build out the cheeks some more, just to make his head fit more to his floppy body. Now, with his head finally as I wanted, it is time to make his little feet. And these are very easy because we want it to look like his feet is part of the sack. So we are simply shaping it in a round triangle, and then take our round rubber shaper tool and press it in like you see me doing here before we shape it again to make these folds so it looks like it's a part of the sack of dirt. With his little feet done, all we have to do is smooth them in, and it's time for the arms, which is also going to be super simple. Simply take a snake of clay and shape it to the arms that we want before we cut in the middle to get it so cohesive that we can. After that, all we have to do is cut the wire to the appropriate length and press the snakes of clay on, and voila, he has arms. I make his arms stand out sort of like he is just very happy, or maybe he's ready to embrace you. Again, keeping this body language in mind that we want him to be so happy. And an open body language is the best way to show happiness. But with our arms on, all we have to do is take our dentist tool and slowly make a stripe all the way down on both sides. Again, to make sure that he's going to look like a sack and not like a marshmallow. And with the stripe as we want it, all we have to do is press some small indent to indicate that it has been sewn together using the round rubber shaper tool. Now when we are going to bake him, I like to bake him a little longer just to make sure that he is fully baked, and also I think it helps avoiding cracks. So I like to bake it for 25 minutes on 120 degrees Celsius. That is 248 in Fahrenheit. But before we do that, we're going to give our sack a little bit of texture using one of my dentist tools. And that is pretty much it. Now it's time for Paintfect to get a crack at him. Her video is going to be the very last of this series, but that doesn't mean we're not going to cheat a bit now. Like so. Don't you just get very optimistic when you look at little Opti? I definitely get more optimistic looking at this little fella. The only thing that will make me even happier is that you consider like, comment and or subscribe to my channel. It would really help it along and it would mean so much to me, and you will see a big fat grin on my face. Ooh, and don't forget to hit notifications while you're there, so you can follow along on this Tutootsies series, an easy way to make a polymer clay figure. But if you're not into happiness, then we still have a lot more Tutootsies to go through. But at last guys, with that being said, it is time for me to sign off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. But if you can wait until next time and want to learn a little bit more about the Tutootsies, why not click on the square to your right? Then you're going to see another little Tutootsie get made and hear more of my not so beautiful voice. Right now though, the only thing I can say to ya is bye!